welcome. My name is Aleisha and this is Project Vegan. So let's get baking. Today I decided I want to attempt Claire Staff times dessert person. I don't know if I said her last name right, but I'm going to attempt her apple pie Pop-Tart fall based dessert she made, and we're going to try and make it vegan. But we will see how this goes. I don't think mine will turn out anywhere near as good as hers, but we're going to give it a shot. And we're also going to try and simplify it. Hers recipe is amazing, she's an amazing person, but it seems slightly overcomplicated than what it really is. So let's try and simplify this. To a pot, you're going to want to add about 4 tablespoons of butter or margarine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also going to want to add a 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar, as well as a vanilla bean, like seeded, but I've never worked with a vanilla bean before, so we're gonna see how this goes. Do I just like peel it open? Oh whoa, there's like all this stuff on the inside. Okay, like in here, I think I have to scrape this out, maybe. Add all the seeds you scrape out and half the vanilla bean and add both halves. We will remove these later. Next up, you want to prepare the apples for the filling. I did do it the way Claire does it in her video, and I must say cutting the ends off like this helps for peeling. I do this to all 3 apples, and then I can hear the solution bubbling away in the background, so I go and mix that. I then return to the apples to peel them, but having an edge on the top to go down from really helps. All 3 apples need to be peeled. Once all the apples are peeled, you're going to want to cut them. Please be very safe with a knife and go along where the core is. It doesn't matter if you get some of the holes or some of the seeds. It's really a rough chop and you want to get as much of the apple as possible. Claire calls these lobes, but yeah, you can call them whatever you like as long as you cut the apple. End up with a square core. We don't need this, you can discard this. Once you have cut the lobes off, you can cut the apple into smaller pieces. The size doesn't really matter. The smaller that you do them, the faster they are to soften. You need to chop all 3 apples and fairly evenly. Add the apples and then wait until the apples go soft, which should be about 8 to 10 minutes. Once your apples are nice and soft, or as Claire called them, translucent, so they kind of have like a clear film almost over them, and they're really soft. What you want to do is you want to grab a potato masher or a fork or some sort of wooden spoon and just mash them up. Smells amazing, by the way, if I could describe the smells to you. Oh, this is what mine looked like after mashing. It's like a thick applesauce. So we're now going to add in 2 cups of apple cider vinegar. Then cook this for 10, 12, 14 minutes until it's completely reduced and it's nice and thick. Alrighty, so it's still really hot, but the best way to tell when it's done, I got this from her video, is when you put it across, there's no excess puddles of water or anything, and it's nice and thick. I'm going to remove those vanilla bean cases and then let it cool off to the side a little bit, and then chuck it in a container and put it in the fridge for a few hours because it needs to be cold to use it. But we will start on making a rough flaky pastry. Hey guys, I just want to take a second to say that my content over the New Year's and Christmas period isn't going to be as consistent as normal, and I'll show you why. So yeah, we're getting some construction done to our house, and the times I normally film, they're obviously working. So if I do decide to film on the weekend, there's people walking through, and it's just, yes, just an explanation. But let's get back to the baking. Now, onto the pastry. In her videos, Claire uses a pre-made pastry that she has in her freezer. from her recipe book, I actually believe, so it is homemade. However, you can use store-bought, or I'm going to teach you how to make a quicker type one. I don't know if it's Claire's exact one, I don't own her book, but this is the one I'm going to use. So you're going to need, it's actually really simple, the ingredients. You need equal parts flour and butter, so 250 grams flour, 250 grams of butter, and about 100 mils to 150 mils of cold water, and a little bit of salt. That's it. So let's get started with this. It does require a bit of rolling and chilling though, so if you're not up to that, just skip this part, and then you can use store-bought pastry. Now I'm using a scales to measure out 250 grams of plain all-purpose flour, and I think that it's going to be about a cup. Maybe not, closer to 2 cups. Maybe 1.5 cups. Yeah, that's 250 grams here. And now for the butter. 100. 208. 137, 56, that'll do. Alrighty, and into the bowl with flour. Oops, try not to spill it like I did. Oh, I forgot to mention this requires getting your hands a little dirty. Add a couple of spins of salt, 1/4 teaspoon, and then roughly rub the flour into the butter with your fingers. Now it's not like the normal recipes where you make pastry and you want it to be like fine breadcrumbs. You still want to see clumps of butter for this one. That's what makes the pastry nice and flaky. And I'm obviously not using butter, I'm using olivani or dairy-free spread, margarine, so therefore the pastry is vegan. So 100 mils equals 100 grams, so we'll just pour it in here. That's 104, so maybe just leave a little bit. I want to make a little well in the center here. Add in my water and hopefully mix this till a dough forms. Right, mine's a lot stickier than I would have liked, so I'm going to add in some more flour and very gently try and work this into a lot less sticky of a dough. That is a little bit better. I'm going to cover this and rest it in the fridge for 20 minutes. Alright, after the dough's been in the fridge for about 20 minutes, lightly flour a surface so that you can put the dough out, roll it out. Only roll one way though, and stretch it out the other way. You can pound it a little bit. It should look very marbled and buttery. The aim here is to make a square-like kind of shape if possible, but most importantly keep it even and only roll one way. Once you're happy with your shape and your spread, you can, I'll give you a better angle of this. Oh, okay, there we go. You should fold it into thirds, so up like that. And see the little marble and butter and like that? That's what's going to create your flake. And then from the other side, bring it down. Ah, no. And over. And it shouldn't be sticking to the bench like this. Oops. Then, quarter turn. I'm going to reflour my bench first though, and put excess flour down. Quarter turn your dough, so the top will go up here, and this will go down here. More flour, and then same thing again. So I'm going to pat it down with my floured roller, whacking it. This very much reminds me of when I made vegan croissants. You can check that out in one of the top information cards. And once that is looking pretty good for size, we're going to fold it up one more time. Oh, much better fold. Ah, no. Okay. Ample flour here is key, must say. Alright, once you're happy with that and it's all in a nice square shape, we're going to wrap it up chuck it in the fridge for another 20 minutes, and then it'll be ready to use. First off, we're going to prepare the green apples for the top. So similar slicing method to before, but this time we're keeping the skin on. So just as close to the core as you would like, straight down. Claire called these the, I forgot what she called them. And then you just want to keep that part and just and then she kept hers all very close together, just browning in little bundles like this until you're ready to use them. And then same with the other side. Don't need those bits, you can more than likely eat them. I'm gonna do this to all the apples and then it will be just about time to assemble this tart. Okay, so now we have all the components all cooled and ready to use. We're gonna start assembling. However, before we start assembling, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I made a mistake. I used the wrong apple cider vinegar. Now this tastes, it's very, very tangy. It tastes like apple cider vinegar. So we're gonna try and fix it by counterbalancing it with some extra brown sugar. But I do recommend not making the same mistake as me and using a more natural apple cider, because the one I used was too strong. I think it was refined or something along those lines. So it didn't quite work out. So you need it to be the cloudy apple cider vinegar, not the see-through kind, if that makes any sense. Let's get on to assembling though. So I've got my pastry here, which I think I have too much, but that's okay. Better have too much than too little. Chuck that on my tray here. I'm not gonna bother with transferring it. That's why I'm gonna do it straight on a baking tray. Less hassle, more ease. I'm also going to sprinkle the top with some flour so that it also makes it a bit easier for me. Then with my rolling pin, the only way I want to roll it is, I believe it might actually be that way. There's only one way I want to roll it, and the other way I don't want to roll it. I think we're gonna go that way. I'm only rolling it one way. The other way I can like whack it or push it into, so it's that shape, and then roll it the rest of the way. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but it's like all marbled. There's some parts where there's still solid butter, other parts where there's not, which is beautiful. Hopefully we will get a nice flaky dough out of it. Alrighty, once you're fairly happy with the evenness of it, you can take a knife to it for those nice, clean, sharp edges. I am instead just going to pat it into a semi sort of square shape. I learnt this from a video. It's called docking. It's when you poke holes in the pastry so that it doesn't puff up quite as much. Obviously the weight from the fruit also helps with this, but it also helps to poke some holes. So poke some holes with a fork, and then she uses egg white or beaten eggs to create a glaze, which helps with the goldening process on the edges. So I'm going to use a little bit of oat milk and paint myself a border. Once I have a little outline here of my massive Pop-Tart, I am going to sprinkle some white sugar just on the edges. Helps with a little bit of goldening and shows you where the crust is. She uses some fancy sugar, but we're making it simple. Now, I'm going to emphasize that this step is only because I stuffed up. I'm going to add a layer of some brown sugar and just sprinkle that in the middle where I'm going to layer my filling. I'm then going to take my apple cidery filling and probably end up using most of it, or maybe slightly less, because it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Oops. Now what you want to do with your apple slices is fan them out so that they're still overlapping, but so that they're nice and like spread out a little bit. She repeats in her video multiple times that the apples will shrink, so I feel like that's important to mention. And you just lay them she laid hers in all different directions and it looked amazing. So I'm going to copy that and just go for that one. And in Claire's video, she then uses her leftover butter and leftover apple cider vinegar to create a glaze. And as you saw, I no longer have any more apple cider vinegar, so we are going to dribble it with milk for absolutely no reason, but I have extra. And I will show you my final product before baking, like this. The amount of apple will reduce. It looks like a lot, but it really isn't. But I think that looks adorable. What do you all think? You want to preheat your oven to 220 bake, place it in the oven, and as soon as it goes in the oven, reduce your oven to 180 and bake for 40 to 55 minutes. It came out of the oven a little while ago and it's cooled a little bit now, and everybody's had a little taste of it on this corner over here. But with the pastry, you can't taste the apple cider quite as much, and it's still good, like I would eat it, but it's quite noticeable, the tang from the apple cider. So if I were to make it again, I don't think I would use as much apple cider vinegar, or I'd try and use a less strong one, or I'd water it down, or something along those lines. Okay, hello, so it's me while editing, but I don't think I did a very good job of explaining what happened to the tart. So basically, the flaky pastry, the actual tart base that I made, loved it. Everybody loved it. The whole crust was gone. However, the filling was just too tangy and too strong. You could still taste the apple cider vinegar, even though it had been reducing for so long, and I'd even left it on for longer to try and get rid of more of it. I don't know what it is. Like, I followed the recipe, so I don't know if I just used the wrong apple cider vinegar, therefore it would be my fault for reading it wrong or not using the right one, or if the recipe's supposed to be like that and it's just not to my taste. However, I probably won't be making it like that again. No, I can say I won't be making it like that again, honestly. I just didn't like it, and my parents said it was okay, more of a mature kind of taste, and was edible, but I think they were just being nice because even the apples that were sitting on top, they were like infused with apple cider vinegar. And honestly, it just wasn't for me. I did end up throwing the middle portion, most of the middle portion of the tart, because it just didn't get eaten. Although I can tell you that the whole rim of the pastry went. So I recommend the pastry recipe. Don't recommend the apple cider part as much, unless someone can tell me what's gone wrong. Maybe New Zealand apple cider vinegar is just way stronger. I don't know. I need some help in figuring that one out. But I do want to thank you all so much for watching, and just be cautious with this recipe. That is all I have for you today. So thank you so much for watching. Comment down below if you think the apple cider will be too strong for you, or if you have any suggestions, or if you're going to try it yourself. Like if you've liked this video, and I'll see you all in the next video, and subscribe if you like my content.